As a next level leader, I believe you can become better than you ever thought you could be. The key is to figure out what your blind spots are and get them out of your way. Let's get started. This is The Blind Spot. In today's episode, I get to share a great conversation with my good friend and mentor and my boss in my previous corporate life, Bobby Keys. Bobby is the owner of ELITE Suites and Spas in the Philadelphia region, and he has influenced so many people, including myself, with his ability to lead teams and drive performance and huge results. So enjoy the conversation. I know you're going to get a lot out of it, and go be great. All right. Well, thank you, Bobby, for joining me today on my podcast called The Blind Spot. Everyone, I'd love to introduce you to Bobby Keys. He is the president and CEO of ELITE Salons and Suites, where he manages the company's fast-growing business in the Philadelphia and Lehigh Valley regions. With his 30-plus years of executive experience, Bobby provides the leadership and vision for the entire ELITE team, while his main focus is growing the portfolio of studios in the area. He's also on the board of directors for Father Judge High School, Drexel Newman Academy, and the Sattel Institute, where he's also on the executive committee and CEO chair. And in the past, he's been the board chair for the Urban League of Philadelphia, and as well as the United Way of Greater Philadelphia and Southern New Jersey. So welcome, Bobby. Thanks for being my guest.
Hey, Deb, great seeing you, talking with you. Thanks for having me. I look forward to our time together.
Yeah, this is going to be great. And for those listening, Bobby and I do have a history. We've worked together for about 20 years, and he was my direct manager, both in Connecticut and Philadelphia. And I find him to be one of the most important mentors in my life. So, Bobby, I appreciate you very much. And again, thanks for being on my podcast.
Anything you've accomplished, you've done on your own, but I think it's pretty cool, maybe as a foundation for those that will be listening, that both of you had the pleasure and privilege to work for the same company, Enterprise Holdings, and spent 30 plus years each in various different positions. But now we're both business owners, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. And we'll definitely dive into your role and ownership of ELITE Salons and Suites and all the good things that you're doing with the men and women that want to work in those areas. So, but this podcast is really about leadership and helping our listeners figure out what their own blind spots are by listening to the stories that we're talking about regarding our own leadership journey. And Bobby, I'd love to go back to your earliest experience with leadership, maybe when you were, in school or college or even younger than that. What did you notice in another person when you had to step into a role of leadership and you looked at this other person and said, that's something that I really want to do?
I think, Deb, it starts, if you're going back for me, it was being voted captain of our freshman football team. And we're talking about a really large boys Catholic high school. We had 650 kids when we started our freshman year. And coming from a larger grade school, pretty intimidating to be thrown into that new world, if you will. So wasn't sure how good of a football player I was until we had tryouts. Made the team, was doing well, and then was voted one of the 4 captains. So I think early on it comes back to some basic disciplines. And at that point, it was really understanding right from wrong. And we hear so much about bullying today and even cyberbullying, but I guess it existed back then. And as a young person, I think we always watch our parents and follow their lead. So for those of your folks that are parents out there and you're worried about if you're doing the right thing for your kids, just setting the right example is so important. Doing things the right way, treating people the right way. And I think those are basic fundamentals we're taught. But now as a leader, even at a young age, people are watching, people are certainly listening. And in some cases, as a football player, the coach is the boss, and the coach says, and we do. But within that, there's the locker room, there's walking around campus and things like that, and people that will have questions. So you start to learn the value of responsibility pretty early on. And at least for me, I found myself pretty comfortable with it. And it continued on through high school and college. And fortunately, upon graduation, like you, had a chance to work for a terrific company that all we had to do was work hard, work smart, make good decisions. And the next thing we knew, we were in leadership positions. So once again, it's thrust upon you, and we have to make individual decisions that, am I ready for this? Can I accept this? And ultimately, do I have the confidence to do this? Because obviously none of us are perfect. And, even at my advancing age, if you will, I'm learning something new every day.
I love that. And talking about that time in your life, I mean, just the peer pressure when you think about it, and being a captain of your football team, you're learning so much about yourself, and then you have to lead all these, well, some of them are probably good friends, but now you're being put in a situation where you said the value of responsibility was coming up for you, but you were really comfortable with it. What was something that you felt like you had to take charge of or be disciplined about when you were in that role as a captain of the football team?
Yeah, and Deb, let me first say, as I was listening to you, there's a couple fundamental disciplines in leadership that we have to get right, and it starts with leaders own their words, their actions, and their decisions. So you're talking about the growth of leadership, and we're going back to its earliest phase when I was voted captain on the freshman team, and you realize that you're going to get helped along. If it's a coach saying, "Hey, Bobby, make sure everybody's on the field by 4:00," whatever it may be. Well, you know what? I was given some instruction and order, if you will. And it was my responsibility to be able to rally people, motivate people to get them out so that we can start practice on time. And again, so what are we talking about? We're talking about a foundation. And as we come into business, and some of us are thrust into leadership positions early on, and that's why it's important to just understand that most people will follow leaders, certainly good, consistent, authentic leaders. And all they're looking for is to be treated the right way. And that's why we ask folks to do things. We certainly want to recognize any and all areas of performance or good behavior. And that's part of the empowerment piece. And I'm not quite sure when I really understood the power of that. It's, yes, treat people the right way, but ultimately our jobs as leaders in the workplace is to make others around us better at what they do so that they can move their careers forward. And you and I both learned that at the very core at Enterprise. And as leaders, if we didn't empower our people and elevate their performance, they're not getting promoted, which means we're probably not performing, and we probably find ourselves out of a job. So there's so many connectors to it. But some of us read books, some of us watch those, whether it be the people we view as leaders on television, in corporate meetings and seminars. So there's a vast network out there. And I would suggest to folks that be open-minded, be flexible, understand that we can learn something new every day. And, you mentioned some of my board accreditations earlier. I think that's helped me evolve into a more senior leader, and one that's became maybe better well known throughout the region because of the network I was keeping, whether it was being, chair in the United Way campaign in 2016, being the board chair at the Urban League, and I chaired that organization for 10 years. So leadership was thrown at me when I was asked to do that job. And I guess serving for 10 years, it spoke that I took the job seriously. I was able to deliver on some things and empower some people, and at the same time, drive a board of very successful executives in the region into this volunteer work that we were doing to better the Urban League.
Yeah. And I was privy to seeing you just impact the region so effortlessly. It seemed. I'm sure it was so much work. And, going back, the networking and putting yourself into situations, I'm sure that was an area where you learned that that was necessary. And, let's go to that point where we're both young at Enterprise and in that leadership, like transition into that bigger leadership role. What was it that you realized about your role that you needed to expand? And this is what I would call almost your blind spot at this point, and where you realized it and you jumped into it.
Yeah, Deb, I think there's a few things here because on one end, we're probably thrown into the fire, right? Now, if we're fortunate to have good leadership around us, our mentors, our network, that will take the time and maybe have to lay out a game plan how to attack something. So you need to be able to know that you have a network, choose the right network, follow it, but also ask it for opinions, for information. That those famous 4 words that are so underused. I need your help. Right? We have to check our ego at the door as leaders and say, okay, what's the right thing for the business? What's the right thing for our employees? And or what's the right thing for the client? So those have to be governing principles in anything that you do. Now, a lot of times as leaders, we're out there on an island, and that's where you better be able to draw back on your experiences, right, to formulate good decisions. Don't always rush into decisions, especially important ones, right? We will be better regarded and better thought of when we take our time and think through things clearly. There's that 80% of situations that come at you that you'll have the answer to and you get on with it. But the big stuff we have to get right, because ultimately that's what we're going to be judged on. But you really do need to understand that you got to trust your instincts and be able to, when you don't have that network around you, be able to come up with the right decision, be confident in it, and ultimately execute it, right? Great plans are great, but they're not great if you don't execute them. So that becomes real important at the back end of any type of leadership role and expectation that's set for you.
So it sounds like networking and being present with the situation at hand and looking at your network to help you with just collaboration or just new perspectives. Like that seems like something that was your game changer that helped you get into that next level versus, I think of myself at Enterprise and it was like, okay, head down, let's just work really hard and be, respected for the performance that we're giving. But yet you lifted up your head and you started to look around and started to network with people and started to see that there were things that were outside of what you thought you needed that once you did realize it was a good thing. Am I accurate with that?
Yeah, no, and that starts with a couple things. The business imperative, right? Why was it important that I or we join boards? The volunteerism is so important, and Enterprise is such a great company and really a difference maker in the community. So now you take that collective organization called the big company and the good they're doing, and you're part of that as a team. But then as a leader, I'm out there carving out my own niche, if you will. And again, so the business imperative is it's smart. If you never know who you're going to meet, whether it be through a chamber event, a fundraiser, sitting waiting for a train or at the airport waiting for a plane. You never know who you're going to bump into, and our ability to be curious, right? Always be prepared for that moment, right? One of the many things I learned during my time at Enterprise is when I travel with a pair of slacks and a sport coat. I'd love to be in jeans and a t-shirt, but 35 years into business, I've developed a brand. Whether it's a good brand or not, it's my brand, and I have to own it. And some of that is the presentation that I'm going to make. And you never know who you're going to bump into. And for your listeners out there that are in their 20s and 30s, if you have folks in that age group, they're probably saying, "Yeah, who do I know? Who am I going to meet?" Well, it'll be different every 5-10 years as you go forward. So One day, our 20, 30 somethings, and I have 3 children that are in their mid to late 20s, they're going to be in their 30s and in their 40s, and your network will grow, and with it will your brand, and also the role that you've created as a leader and what people expect of you. And that's why I've always believed that the consistency is so important. Yeah, you have to be smart. Yeah, you have to have good speaking ability. Those things can come in time. We can get better with those things, but the consistency and the authenticity that we can deliver is critical, because people will remember. And those are things I knew very early on because of people that I valued as mentors and characteristics that I believed that they had and things that I wanted to emulate.
Yeah. And I was going to ask you that, what are some of the leadership characteristics that you would see in younger employees who started off at enterprise that you realized, okay, those are really foundational and important, and you started to gather your list? So what are your top leadership characteristics?
Confidence in themselves, confidence in their presentation, confidence in their communication style. Deb, you work with so many folks. Some of us, it's a lot easier to talk to people, small group, big group. Some of it is very difficult. So for those that aren't as comfortable with on the speaking side of things, you can get better at it, but you got to work at it. Now you got to find people in your network that can help you with those things, that can, empower you and give you good feedback. It doesn't mean you're ultimately going to be a great speaker, but you can be a great leader that's very good speaking in small groups or big groups. Beyond that, attitude, energy is so important, right? It's not so much about being liked, but it really is important that folks want to work with you, not necessarily for you. And being a team sport guy, and football is one of those sports that really is a consummate team game, because there's 11 guys on the field, 11 play offense, 11 play special teams, 11 play defense. So there's a lot of pieces involved, and you understand that, doesn't matter if I'm the best player of the team or the worst player of the team, I'm part of a team. And if I'm the best player, I'm not any good without the other 10 people working in sync with me. And it's one of the things that it gave us at Enterprise, was that opportunity to be part of a team, come to work with great energy and enthusiasm, and ultimately bring that across to customers. So I would look for folks for their confidence, their communication skill and style, their ability to relate to clients and coworkers. And I think those are some of those early qualities that are important and resonate within our young leaders.
I love that. And I'm thinking about even how we transfer, what you and I have learned about ourselves now into our current businesses that we own. And, I'm curious what your biggest challenges are right now. And maybe you can talk a little bit about ELITE and where it's going, and then answer that question for me.
Yeah, I think the number one challenge is getting people to trust me. When I say that, I had it at Enterprise because I was there for 33 years. And in my most recent role in Enterprise, we had 1,600 men and women that worked with us. And I was in that position 15 years. So I had 15 years to build a brand, identify myself within the group as a leader. Folks trusted me, or they did, and I believe that most did. Our performance numbers were always there. So I had a brand, if you will. I had a reputation, and if you asked any of our teammates, they would say very clearly, Bobby is this and this and this, or he's this and that. But I think there would be consistency across the board. So here I am coming out of a role where I'm the leader in the group, the boss, if you will. And now my job is to go out and recruit people. And within our model, we're taking folks and bringing them into business ownership. 94% of them are women. I think I have a very good track record in not only hiring women, but developing women and helping them into executive roles. And you are one of those 5-star employees, Deb, that really accomplished all of those things. But here I am starting over, and I've got this track record. whether it was good or great or not so good, and I'm starting over.
Mm-hmm.
And early on, I'm expecting these folks to just, say, "Oh yeah, okay, you're Bobby Keys, and yeah, I want to do this." They had no idea who Bobby Keys is, was, will be. I was an outsider to them, and just within the construct of their industry, there really is a lot of skepticism about leadership, and I work with some folks that I believe are wonderfully empowered now as business owners. I'm probably playing a small role in that, but a strong majority of them were not empowered. So back to our discussion, leaders are responsible for their words, their actions, and their decisions. And then ultimately, those of us that are entrusted and empowered with leading teams, we've got to elevate these teams. We've got to motivate these teams. We got to drive these teams to perform, because if we don't, somebody's going to make a decision that says, well, maybe we need to find somebody else to do that. Or, if you're working for a publicly traded company, that might even bring greater exposure to it because you're responsible to your stockholders.
Yeah. So it sounds like trust and getting the engagement with these new business owners to see that this is an opportunity of a lifetime for them. It's rewarding. It could be a little frustrating. And I'm curious if there's a little bit of a blind spot for you right now where you need to realize something about yourself. What have you learned about yourself through this? Or where's that opportunity for you?
Yeah, at the core, Deb, that we can do a little more than rent cars. And I don't want to trivialize that, because it doesn't matter what the business is, right? You and I combined, we rented a lot of cars for 63 years combined. More important than renting cars, we work with hundreds, if not thousands, of employees, and whether they're teammates that are still in enterprise doing great things or they moved on to do something else, we made that decision to retire, pivot, and then go into round two, right? So it's daunting. And listen, leadership's not an easy thing to do. We're not born leaders. Some are, but we have to work hard at it and understand that we're not perfect. We're going to get things wrong from time to time. It just gets back to our core. And that blind spot for me certainly was maybe not fully appreciating some of the challenges that I would have coming into a completely different industry, right? Because 33 years met a lot of people, the boards I sat on. I consider myself, pretty versatile, especially when it comes to talking to folks and motivating folks. But this threw me into the deep end of the pool, and I said, you know what? Start swimming. So what does swimming mean? Fall back on what you do best. And with me, it's putting others first. It's certainly motivating them, talking to them, getting to know them, finding out what their strengths and weaknesses are, what their goals are, right? Great opportunity for me is as we're bringing these folks into business ownership, how they truly own their business. Right? The importance of setting goals, the importance of executing with the client, the importance of knowing what their value is, their real self-value is, right? This falls back on leaders. And, I'm a little more than 2 years into it. We've been up and running for a little bit more than a year. And in that period of time, we brought about 140 people into business ownership. And you better believe I'm proud of that, because I see life-changing things happening. What role did I play in it? A small one. I hope it's significant. Number one, I invested time and money and capital into opening this business, and I believe in this business, which is relatively new to Pennsylvania and right across the river in New Jersey. So I like that, being one of Enterprise's first employees back in 1985. So I saw what it's like to take something that's very small and grow it, and that's what I had the opportunity to do in this business. But more powerful than that is the opportunity to help folks into business ownership, help them truly understand what empowerment is, and then truly take advantage of all the blood, sweat, and tears that they've invested in their careers. And now it's all theirs. If they want to make more money, they can make more money. If they want to work harder, if they want to work less, if they want better work-life balance, no one's going to tell them other than themselves that they can accomplish this or they can do it. And that's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. And I've been witness to some of that transformation. It's amazing to see the confidence in these business owners. So let's look out a year from today. So what is happening in your life a year from today?
Be a year older, which means I'll be which means I'll be a year closer to 60 and in my 60th year, if you will.
Who says that? That's your seventh, what? Your seventh
well, when I turn 60 in 2023, I will begin my seventh decade on this earth.
Wow, there you go.
That's kind of scary.
Yes, it is.
But here's what happens when you're 58. For those trying to do the math, when you're 58, you realize that years run by pretty quickly because you have so many years behind you. So what does that mean? You have the opportunity to really value that time and the importance of preparedness for it. So when you and I were in our early 20s working enterprise, working hard, accomplishing things, taking care of clients and growing the business and fully empowered, we had no idea what was coming at us because we didn't have a past on which we could reference. So we've opened 6 locations really in our first 15 months. 12 months from today, I think we'll be at 10 locations. We don't have to get into particulars of this, but I have the opportunity. We're looking at licensing this business. So I plan on bringing in other business owners throughout this region, and who else, knows where else it could go in other parts of the country, and have some good conversations with people. So that's going to be really cool to replicate this model at Elite in other areas with other business owners. So I'm really excited about that. But when you look at bringing folks into business ownership, it's 140-ish today. This time next year, it could be 200 to 220. And I think that'll continue to be the validation. And, for businesses to succeed, so many things need to happen, right? You need to have a plan, have goals. You have to be able to execute them. You have to be strategic. You have to be successful. But ultimately, what's your core culture, right? What is your why, if you will? And, my why right now is I want to grow this thing into the biggest and the best salon suite model in the region. And we're going to do that by going out and trying to find the very best people, the very top of the industry, because we do it different than our competition. And we place high value on our business owners, and we're truly invested in their success. The team that I have working with me, we're very visible in our locations. So we're going to continue to build and expand that culture, which I think in a short period of time, we're really driving. And I think the folks that we're working with are really feeling good about the investment they made, not just in themselves and their business, but me, Elite, and the employees and teammates that I have.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, it's very exciting. I know that the Bridge Builder is your favorite poem, and you are certainly building bridges for others to step up and make huge transformation for their lives, for their families. When you think about it, generations to come, and what a great opportunity for all these people to have that.
Right. I said earlier, we're roughly 94% of our business owners are women, right? And you're as proud and confident, successful a woman as I know. So when you talk about, bridge building and giving people opportunity, I didn't come into this business knowing it was 94% dominant by women, right? I knew it was a strong percentage of folks in the beauty profession are women, but think about how empowering that is. And not that legacy is critical, but legacy is important only because it defines you. It helps you tell your story. And, certainly we all want, whether we're just starting our careers or at the back end of our careers, when folks ask others about us, about you, Deb, about me, about anybody that's listening, what do you think they're saying? And what are they saying about you? And those are the things that I've always valued. And yet we had to perform, or somebody else is going to come do the job. But when you're thinking ahead, and now in a position where I'm thinking back as much as I'm thinking ahead, you really do value the importance of, again, treating people the right way, making sure that you're consistent in your communication style, how you treat people, your leadership ability, being humble, right? Being able to turn to people and say, hey, I need your help, or I don't have that answer, or can you help me? Very, very powerful stuff. Now, as we really look at the overview and the macro of what leadership's about, yeah, you got to work hard. But guess what? Everybody works hard. If show me someone that doesn't work hard, I'll show you someone that's not very successful at what they do, right? So we got to check that and understand that's a prerequisite for anything that you want to do. You want to be successful. You want to hit earnings goals, or ultimately you want to get to that corner office. You're going to have to work your butt off. You're going to have to make sacrifices, right? You're going to have to give up some things. But ultimately, you better think about your network, who you can get to turn to, who you can lean on when times get a little tough out there. But it really is that collection of everything that you do, day in, day out, week in, week out. And again, whether you're 22 years old and just starting out, you're in your 50s, or even if you're in your 60s, there's still time to grow and accelerate your brand. And I would caution everyone, just know that everybody's watching and listening. And you and I did so many new hire classes together. One of the things I would always say is maybe to bridge that gap, build that bridge, make a connection to these day one employees, and just let them know that, hey, got a question, ask it. You can always walk into my office. But I was very proud of the fact that I would tell them, I said, if you ever see me on a Friday night, if I'm out in the city, chances are I'd have a tuxedo on because I'm at an event. Because at my age, on a Friday night, I'm home, figuring out what time we're going to go to bed. But I always told my teammates at Enterprise and now, please come up and say hello to me because I will never embarrass you. And what does that mean? Well, I'm always in control of where I'm at, how I'm acting. One of the many reasons I think I was able to accelerate my career was, you know what? I knew when it was time to go home. I didn't drink. So I was always in control of every decision that I had to make. And I think when you talk about, your brand and being a leader, that gets back to just not being consistent, but authentic and understanding that people are always watching and always listening. And you've got to own your words, your actions, and your decisions.
I love it. Thank you. That so much in our time together. I really do appreciate the breadth of stories from the experience from football all the way to now as your own business owner for Elite, and all the common threads that you have always been committed to. And I just appreciate you so much. And thank you so much for being on my podcast. This was great. Thank you.
Hey, Deb, thank you. Yeah, this was great. Let's do it again. And maybe let me leave you and everyone with, as you know, my favorite movie is Rocky.
Yes.
And not just because it's a Philadelphia story, and not just because Sylvester Stallone grew up next to one of my best friends in life, not just because he was a high school dropout at Abraham Lincoln, our rival school, but in life, you're going to get knocked down, right? You're not always going to get your way. Just get up off the deck, put your right foot in front of your left, and your left foot should follow. And just know that, you know what? There's a great world out there and there's great opportunity. Set your goals high, work hard to achieve them, be fair and reasonable with yourself and expectations and the feedback that you're getting. We have to become good listeners as well if we want to become good leaders. So sorry to get the Rocky reference in there, but I do want to say it goes back to just business, life, leadership. It's hard, right? It's not always easy. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to get knocked down. You know what, gang, we're going to fail, right? Just pick yourself back up and you'll do better the next time. So thanks for having me, Deb.
Yeah, this is great. Now, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, how should they reach out? Via like LinkedIn? Would that be the easiest?
LinkedIn would probably, because I'm very active. As you know, Deb, I'm not great on social media. Shame on me.
That's why I set you up with that.
we all have weaknesses, but yes, I would love. I respond to everyone on LinkedIn, but I'd love to learn more about some of the folks and some of their expectations. Again, how do you build a network and the importance of it?
Yeah, this is great. Well, thank you so much, Bobby. I appreciate your time. I know you are very busy, and I wish you the best. And thanks so much.
Deb, thank you.
What did you learn about yourself? What in this conversation got you thinking, maybe there's something to that? That's your blind spot. Continue this conversation with me. Send an email to hello@deborahseymour.com. Now, go be a great leader.